Well guys, starting to look a little bit like Christmas on the streets here. You know, Christmas is supposed to be, hopefully, a season of generosity and giving. And I think we're pretty good about that when we think about, you know, our family members, our friends. Sometimes we get a little excited, right, about what kind of Christmas present we might get for ourselves or whatever. But I think for the most part, a lot of us enjoy being generous. And, you know, it kind of makes me think there's an old legend about when a man dies, there will be between him and God a line of animals that will testify for him based on how he treated them in his life. And I think the idea is such that, you know, if you're nice to people because they have something to give you, that's one thing. But the true test of a man will be, how did he treat those on earth that had nothing to offer him? Like the animals do, where, you know, a lot of times I think we think of them as a commodity or a resource to be used. I think a lot of us might be in trouble, but I do think that's something worth trying to change. Okay guys, well, we're here at Starbucks with Tom, and for kind of an unusual idea, maybe a little bit of an experiment. Oh, you want to tell them about it?
Sure. Garrett approached me with the idea of making a naturalistic vivarium for reticulated pythons, specifically Paludarium Retics, which I found really interesting because I don't think anyone else has ever done it. I'm really willing to take on the challenge to get behind the stigma that these snakes can't be kept naturally because they're just so destructive and will ruin anything you put in there. But I'm sure that if you set it up properly, they will be very enriched and probably be more active and live a better life that way than in a breeding rack system or something like that. It's really all I want to do.
But there's kind of a reason why people say that it can't be done. I mean, normally, the big thing is with the bioactive substrate, right?
Yes.
So normally you're taking, imagine something the size of like a 40-gallon aquarium, and you have, what, 5 little poison dart frogs that could sit on a corner living in it. So it is a little bit of a challenge, but that's what we're here for. We're going to do a little bit of a brainstorming session and see what we can come up with, because I do think it would be a really cool idea. And, you know, right away when you think, okay, let's set up a naturalistic place for a reticulated python, you think about putting them in a jungle, right?
The Borneo setup with the...
Yeah,
that'd be...
Exactly, but that's not where they live. You know, these things, very specifically, their microclimate, which is a big part of who they are and why they are the way they are, is it's island. They're beach dwellers. Those of you guys who saw my video about there's no Superdwarf morphs, you'll see I get into the environments on them a little bit. We actually look at some satellite imagery of where these things come from. So I haven't been to the Superdwarf Islands yet. I would love to get there someday, but I actually have traveled on the Florida Sea and visited a number of small islands there, like in the Komodo area. So one of the things you notice when you come up to these little islands is that all the way around, probably the most biodiverse part of the islands is the mangroves on the edges. But this is something I've been thinking about for a very long time. You ready to get into it?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Sound good?
Absolutely. I think it's awesome.
This is what these mangrove areas look like. So they're like mud flats, and then they flood, which is why these roots are high enough, because they have to be over the tide so that they can breathe through that salt water. So imagine trying to get around on that when there is water there, and there's like predatory fish, and you're a small, you know. So this is why I think that palatoas are so arboreal. It's not because they're way up in the canopies, it's because they have to get from here to here to here to here.
Through that, like that maze.
And you can see there's this intense system, right? So this is how they're traveling from one place to the next, and then they got to run up these branches and hunt up here. And then I did actually manage to find, you don't want to see that guy, Brian Cusco, Brian Cusco shirtless. Oh, I have, hold on. Here we go. Now, this is a Philippines locality retic, but that's it. You can see the mangrove, and he's just exactly like I'm saying. He's perched, almost like a green tree python.
Yes.
Now, what kind of dimensions were you talking about for the cage?
Probably around 8 feet, I can imagine, long, and then maybe 3 or 4 feet deep. I don't really know, but I definitely want it to be more elevated now, so maybe 4 feet tall, possibly. Give him that really good.
So like an 8 by 3 by 4 or something. Did you say you have some sketches?
A little bit. They're not very detailed.
Let's see what you got.
Probably in my pocket. how you said you wanted a sort of cradle up top, okay, for this, and sort of, especially if that picture of them perching, I think that would be.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. There's your roots.
Yep.
There's your top. Yeah. So what do you have going on over here?
This was the thing. I wasn't sure what I wanted over here. I don't know if I possibly might put another one of these up in the middle here to have these intertwining with these ones. And then over here I wanted some sort of large water feature. Yeah, water feature, but I'm not really sure.
And you could introduce the water partially so that it approaches it, but it gives them a little bit of water.
So here's one thing that I think might end up being like the magic bullet for bioactive, okay? Usually when I say you're going to get a bioactive community going, what kind of animals are you thinking about putting in that? You're thinking isopods and springtails and things that eat this much food.
I think also they have the sand, the sea sand that they have, it has live bacteria and things in the lake.
That's true.
The natural fish.
Like the fauna and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that would be the start of, it would sustain probably the fish.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Now I think no ifs, ands, and buts about it, even with little snakes. I think you're going to have to remove larger pieces of feces and shed skin and stuff like that. But what I think would be kind of cool is, and you also are going to find it all the time in mangroves, is like fiddler crabs.
Yeah. Those are really cool.
Those are awesome.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the videos like on the Galapagos Islands where the little crabs climb up on the lizards and they're like picking the skin and eating it and stuff. So I bet, because they're going to eat a lot more. So if you could get some of those, aquatic fiddler crabs living in the water feature, I bet they would go up and clean the feces and the skin and stuff like that. It really takes on a much larger load. So let's say if you've got your mangrove roots here, and I would probably make them as horizontal as possible, right? You're talking about like 2. So if you put, roots in here like this, maybe, and you get them at, different lengths and stuff like that, so they have a lot of stuff to choose from, and you have your thick branches up here. What I'm thinking is, you do all this artificially.
Sure.
Because there's no way you're going to be able to grow mangroves to get this to happen. But what if you took a trunk of something that looked like it and sort of hollowed them out here and planted your money trees in here?
I thought about that exactly the same thing. I didn't think about money trees.
If this is a 4-foot high cage, well, think about this. And you get a 6-inch PVC pipe and you cut it at 36 inches. Right? You have tons of drainage. You could fill the whole thing with sand or bio balls or lava rock or whatever, and then do your different layers of substrate, plant your money trees in there, and then I would do the same thing. Attached to this thing, I would attach a bunch of fake branches that are giving you this level now
out there,
on both sides, and try to pretty much cover the whole cage. You would just leave some clear space in the center for dramatic effect, But now if you plant your money tree in there, and it starts to come up, and you over time train it, and it's got leaves coming out here, and then the cool thing is they don't look like mangroves, but they are cool. They have big seed pods that hang down, and they flower, and they do all of this perfectly indoors. So you know what I mean? You got all your leaves going in there. Then you have some kind of, what I would do is maybe you don't want to scorch your plants. So maybe you have, in this kind of a setup, it would be very easy to provide like a mercury vapor bulb or something that does heat and UVA, UVB. And mercury vapor is really good for penetration of depth over like a UV bulb. So if you have branches that come across here, that's your basking area, and you get some of those branches, they're hitting pretty hot, maybe 88 to 89 degrees, which is higher than I usually use for a Superdwarf, but they got tons of area to get away.
Thermoregulate themselves all down here and everything.
So we're going to need some soil to make this experiment work. So what if in here you set up, let's say, some little walls like this, substrate retainers.
Oh yeah.
And, again, the roots can come all the way out like this into the soil, and some will go down into the soil, but you can now fill this with your bioactive substrate for isopods, springtails, all that kind of stuff. You fill all that, and it also gives you a separation from land water. Then you do your sand bottom, like you were talking about, and I say we do a sandy bottom here that starts low on the outside, so maybe it's like really low here, but then it slopes up
And backwards like that.
to the back. So now the sand is up to here, and you just have a shallow slope like that. You've concealed this, and this sand, you could do real sand. I would probably do a combination where I mixed up some kind of like a cement or epoxy with the sand to maintain the shape here, and then you could stick your little fake mangrove fruits in there, so those are popping up everywhere, and then you go to real sand down here on the front. It would look like in the mangroves, they naturally have these like channels that go up. They're almost like little creeks that go this way and then they go this way. But they do need, I mean, this thing that I'm giving you, it could curl up in a baby food jar. You know what I mean? It's really tiny. So if you have something that size and you have them around, like, you know, as a natural hide, you could,
little pots and stuff like that.
yeah, a small coconut that you smack out and wedge in between. You know, so if you jammed a coconut here and it's got a hole in it, and one over here and it's got a hole in it, you leave the fuzz on the outside, you hollow the inside out, and what you're making them do is you're forcing them to climb around and get exercise, and you'll be able to actually witness all of the natural behaviors that do this stuff. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Well, I think you got a good plan. I think it's
Yeah, you got your land, your water, multiple like striations of horizontal places for them to hide, basking, live plants, and yet if all of this was either artificial or like wood or whatever, super easy to clean.
Would this be clear and visible from all sides? The backdrop.
I don't think, if it was me, I would print a picture like the one I just showed you and drop that on at least the back side, and then try to work yours into that to where it actually looks like seamless.
Yeah.
Right. So that this part here flows into the mud flats of the picture, and it looks like you're staring through a half a mile of this. That's what I would do. Yes. Yeah, we're definitely repping Starbucks this whole time. We got the the thing right there. Anyways, I'm excited to see what you guys come up with it. But thank you very much. It'll be a fun project for me. So
I think it's awesome.
it'll be really cool. So yeah, stay in touch. Let me know what's going on. Well, guys, that video was supposed to go up yesterday on Friday. So instead of Free Tip Friday, we'll call this one Sorry It's Saturday. But I had just had that meeting last night, and I hope you guys kind of got a glimpse of the excitement for this project. I mean, it's a big undertaking. But the idea is to take an animal that's like truly special, really unique, and give it an enclosure that's matches that, truly special, really unique. Kind of go away from the little bit of a hoarder mentality. Just to give you an idea of the size of this build, it's going to be an 8-foot wide cage and 4 feet high and 3 feet deep, which is the size of about 2 of these cages, which go from here to here, all the way down, so it'll be from here up. This houses 4 adult super dwarves, you guys, and the snake that's going to go in the enclosure that Tom, Bailey, Senior and Junior are building for me is this one. Tiny little pure super dwarf hatchling. But you know, I think she's worth it. Do you? You guys have a great weekend. We'll catch you next time.